This is CUGAN for Rifle TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. With me I have Eddie Hearn.
You met. Was that you?
That's a chair.
Oh, yeah, the chair. Yeah.
It's your chair.
You missed a great weekend.
I know.
Mate, Everton was sensational.
I saw, and to be honest, I never would have anticipated you putting at 3.5 weeks' notice a show on Bank Holiday in Liverpool for Bellew. So, but I was going to miss it.
I told you all along it was in the works.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
It's too late by then, anyway.
3.5 weeks, just under 17,000, and mate, just the best night. The best night.
We'll come on to that in a bit.
We've got so much to talk about.
Yeah, we want to start with obviously.
What are you going to start with?
Well, we'll start with Muhammad Ali. Obviously, everyone's been saying all sorts of things, which is expected, really. A global figure, even if you weren't into boxing. I know, I've just noticed
One of our I did an interview and I said, you can't really escape Muhammad Ali. You know, throughout it doesn't matter what industry you work in, you would have seen him, whether it be through, you know, in photos, in old footage, and of course, if you work in boxing, I don't think you could walk in a boxing gym without seeing a picture of Muhammad Ali or something related to Muhammad Ali. You certainly can't walk down a corridor in this office without bumping into something Muhammad Ali related. And I think the response since his passing has shown you how big he is. It's like a member of the royal family has died, isn't it? Every paper, like for 2 days now, front covers, and just shows really the impact that he made on life, on this earth, which was phenomenal.
I saw George Foreman said a quote that Ali was bigger than boxing. Could you kind of see where he's coming from with that?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, that he was known not just for his boxing, but you know, for his beliefs. Obviously, you know, when he refused to join the forces, I think he was in prison for that, or at least threatened with it. And obviously his religious stance as well. I've been watching loads of stuff because you can never watch enough Ali, can you? So I've watched in the past, I don't know, probably at least a dozen of his fights, at least, you know, thoroughly. But then people will start texting me saying, oh, you must watch this fight. And then someone sent me a link to, you know, a 9 or 10 minute video about his life. And it's amazing to watch because his career was so stop-start. And he was probably the first real, say, self-promoter, you know? Like, he was the first one that really took it by the scruff of the neck and went out and became a global star. And if you look at his career, the places that he boxed was phenomenal. People don't really realise just where he boxed. I mean, I think Switzerland,
Germany,
Indonesia, Germany, England, Tokyo, Congo, of course. Like Bahamas was his last fight. He boxed everywhere, and you know, I think he was a global star and a great fighter, of course, especially in such a stop-start career that he had.
It was a bit of a shame towards obviously his final years, but since he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, you saw the sort of deterioration of him. And I suppose when you look at the fights he had when he was in his peak and how vocal he was, it was a sad thing towards the last sort of 20, 30 years.
Illness, I mean, Parkinson's is a terrible disease, firstly. You know, anything, obviously I know that's not necessarily related, but you know, mental illness as well. I was talking to a member of my family about it who, you know, we were talking about my nan died through Alzheimer's and dementia, and that it's hard to watch you know, an illness that takes your soul away and your character away. And I think people around Ali, and I think it's the general feeling of most, me definitely, is that he's at peace now. Do you know what I mean? Because this is a guy who's an athlete, so he's had to battle this illness for 30 years, and it's it's tough to watch. Tough to watch someone who you watch footage of with that face, you know, that energy, that skill, to have to suffer this physical disease. And it is a physical disease and a mental disease. And it must be so difficult for someone like him to deal with. So, you know, he's been ill for a long time, but probably the last 4 or 5 years, there's been times where he's been in hospital, hasn't it? And there's been reports that he could be ready to pass away, and now he has. So I think, obviously I can't talk on behalf of his family, but I'm sure there's an element of that he's at peace now, you know, because it was a long-suffering illness.
Do you see in the future, or someone of his stance and his sort of impact he had on world boxing and in sport in general, do you see in our lifetime anyone capable of being anywhere near that?
Well, he did it without the benefit of modern day media, didn't he? Yeah. So, you know, you're in a position now where people should be able to replicate the impact's a tough word, because of what he stood for and his beliefs. He was controversial, but at the same time he was admired. You know, it wasn't just his boxing, was it? It wasn't that this guy was just a sensational fighter. He had it all. But then couple that with his dramas outside the ring, his beliefs, the way in which he was outspoken. And this isn't a guy that was outspoken just saying, I'm going to knock you out, I'm going to do this. This was a guy who spoke in rhymes, you know, who looked $1 million, who, you know, he had everything. And it's going to be difficult to find, certainly, a personality. They've got the platform to do it because of the way the media's evolved. But you can't, he was special, you know, and perhaps, I mean, definitely a once in a lifetime, a once in a generation, once in how many generations is he going to be? Because we haven't seen anything like it. I mean, the closest we've seen to it is Floyd Mayweather. And how can you even compare the two? Let's be honest. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is a genius and he's a superstar. Is he an icon? Is he an icon? I think icon is something that you can only be referred to when you've passed or when your career is done. But icon is a word that gets used quite a lot. Muhammad Ali, that's probably the best word you could use to describe Muhammad Ali. Icon. Is Floyd Mayweather an icon?
Of modern day boxing?
Yeah, perhaps in 10 or 20 years we'll look back and say 100%. But maybe it's just because I'm comparing him to Ali, and you can't, can you? I mean, how can you compare the two?
Probably not comparable to anyone, if we're being honest. So.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Off the back of going back to Tony Bellew, obviously called Mr. David Haye out.
Yeah.
Immediately after the fight, and David Haye sort of responded, saying he'd smash him to bits, and then Bellew responded. So, where are we? I'm
surprised you haven't jumped on this. Well, you've been away, haven't you? But well, this is a bit of you. Let's be honest.
Where are we? Because I saw Tony Bellew sort of state that sort of talks are beginning.
Yeah, possibly? I mean, basically, this is something that's been going on a while. David Haye approached Tony Bellew before the Masternak fight and said, why don't you fight on my card in, was his first fight like February or something like that? Or January. And then we could look at even fighting ourselves. Bellew said, no, I'm going to take the Masternak fight. And it was all left at that. And obviously since then, Haye's come back and Bellew fancies fighting Haye. You know, he knows it's a huge fight. He thinks he can beat him. It's a fight the public can get excited about. It's not a fight that's going to happen next, but I think the one after is very possible. David Haye, I'm sure David Haye wants to win a world title, but I think, you know, he's motivated by money. Of course he is. And that is a fight that could make big, big money. So I guess both guys are excited about it. I think it's a fight that would be entertaining in and out of the ring. You'd have to find a catch weight, whether that's 15 stone, 15.7, I don't know. But yeah, I think Tony's had a couple of conversations with David. I've spoke to David's lawyer about it. And it's not, you know, there's certainly no negotiations at the moment, but I think there's an understanding that that's a fight that could make sense, depending what's out there for everybody. You know, I think Tony will probably return to the ring in September, October. David will fight about the same time. Who knows?
Possibly for this year, though.
I don't think so. No.
No.
I think it'll be more like February next year. But who knows? You know, like I said, it's a fight that's already created a lot of interest. We know it's big. It's a bit strange because obviously Tony's moving outside of cruiserweight, but he would have gone in the ring 15 stone plus. So, so I think the most important thing is for us to find out what's next for Tony, and then possibly look at the Haye fight after that.
Because this isn't the first time that this fight hasn't suddenly just been talked about now, is it? This was spoke about.
It was spoke about a while ago, but again, before the Masternak fight, Tony was offered to box on the Haye card and then look at fighting Haye. So it's not something that's just popped out of nowhere. It's a fight that's been talked about before, and they don't particularly like each other, but Tony doesn't really like a lot of people when he's fighting them. It's just amongst the mentalness, if that's a word, of Goodison Park, this was just thrown in there, and it's just, of course, the media love it. So they ask all the questions, and then you get the responses, and then it just gets bigger and bigger.
Just going back the night before, obviously Ricky Burns becoming Scotland's first three-weight world champion. What next for Ricky Burns? What have you sort of been?
Well, it was a great night. I mean, look, the atmosphere we know in Glasgow is always red hot, and the fans in the Hydro were exceptional. I thought Ricky Burns was exceptional. I mean, people say, he was poor, but at the end of the day, Dorocco's been around a long, long time. I think he suffered a little bit through inactivity. I think he suffered because of the heat of the crowd and because of the atmosphere. And I think he was average on the night, Dorocco, but I thought Burns was exceptional. Thought he boxed wonderfully off the jab. He couldn't miss him with the right hand. And now he's in a position where he's like welterweight world champion. So what do? Do we unify? Do we take a huge fight? The market's changed now. Those big fights that were in America and you're getting all this money to travel, that's gone. So now everyone wants to come to the UK to earn their money. So I think it's likely that Ricky's next defence will be in Glasgow, probably in October. And I don't know who it's going to be yet, is the truthful answer. Loads of people out there. Of course, there's the Broner fight, but it looks like he's going to move to 147. There's Bartholomew could move up to light welterweight after his win at the weekend. They're talking about that. That could be a big fight for Ricky. But I don't know, he's in a great spot. And I think, the move now is to keep improving. He's got appetite as a boxer because of the type of person he is, to keep improving. And he loves it. He's loving life. So it's great to see. And I think October will be our return to Glasgow. Just
obviously jumping back to Bellew now. But, I mean, you're saying David Haye will most probably fight Shannon Briggs in September.
Or October, I think.
Or October. Will Bellew have a mandatory due at some point?
Yeah, obviously we had a vacant title, so when a vacant title is contested with a WBC, there are mandatory obligations. Whether they let us have a voluntary in the meantime, who knows? Be nice if they would, if we could turn it around quickly. But we have got the former champ, Ziod. I don't think he's going to be ready for a while. They also did a final eliminator with Bradis and Duradola. So there's a few options, but I'm going to meet Tony this week and look at what we're going to do. But I'd like a fast turnaround for him, and that would probably be September in Liverpool.
Moving on now to Kell Brook. We saw, obviously, Frank Warren after Liam Smith's win make some comments about the £600,000 offer, which I think is mentioned before. What's your take on that situation regarding to Liam Smith?
I think that you're never going to get me to say a bad word about Liam Smith because he's a friend of mine, and of course his family I'm very close to as well. if we move to light middleweight, we've said that we'd move to light middleweight for the big fights. I don't see Liam Smith as a big fight, and in terms of what I'm talking about, which is mainly Cotto and Canelo. Liam's a world champion at 154. We're a world champion at 147. Had a long chat with Kel last night. We really want to have the big fights at welterweight and try and unify before moving up. The offer itself, which was made to Kel, who is his own manager, and I'm his promoter. I did the same thing with Terry Flanagan, with Steve Wood, but I got a legal letter on the back of it. He's nowhere near enough money. It's less than what he's been earning. So, and it's a British world title fight with a British world champion for Kel to become a 2-weight world champion. But I'm not really here, the money at the moment, it's not something I'm even looking at. It's whether and Frank said as well that we can just freeze our belt and move up. No, we can't. If we decide to fight for the WBO world light middleweight title, we lose our IBF welterweight title. There's no question about that. So it's a big move for us. And of course, with the Vargas fight in the wings, the unification fight, really, it's not something we're looking to do yet. And I think a lot of these guys, Liam and Terry Flanagan, I think in boxing, people think that Liam Smith is a big fight, but I'm not sure if it is. Because people like Liam and Terry are suffering terribly with their profile. Because, I've heard there was between 1,000 and 1,500 people in there on Saturday night, Echo Arena. This is a homecoming of a Liverpool world champion. I saw Liam Smith walking around Goodison Park, just looking there with his mouth open. And they're the kind of nights he should be involved with as Liverpool's world champion. So I just don't feel like that fight is that big outside of boxing. And I feel the same way about Flanagan Crolla as well. But Liam Smith is very, very good. And I think Liam might get the Canelo fight. Because if Canelo's going to swerve Golovkin, he has to swerve him because of the weight. So he has to say, I'm a light middleweight. Well, if he comes down, he's not going to fight Charlo, one of the Charlos. So Liam Smith could be the right fight for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Liam got that. I'm not sure it would go down that well around the world, but Liam's a world champion. And I don't know. I know that he's on the list. So, but I think Brook-Smith is not. It's definitely not one for September. But Kel will move to light middle in 2017. So if he's still around, definitely look to do that fight.
What's the delay on announcing the Vargas fight?
Nothing really. A few things. We're just ironing out the TV territories in terms of who gets what as part of the deal. The bulk of the deal is agreed. The main thing we're waiting on is the date to look at which Saturday Sheffield United are at home and away. I think that officially comes out in about 10 days, something like that. I think there's some provisional schedules floating around. We're looking at August the 27th or September the 3rd. But I don't really expect many problems with the deal. I think Vargas has come out and said he's signed his deal. Well, what that means is that he's agreed with Top Rank what he's getting for the fight. And then the contract, is, the provision of services agreement between Matchroom and Top Rank is yet to be signed because we're still ironing out a few small things. But I don't see a problem with that fight. I think it's most likely get announced, if not towards the end of this week, early next week.
As a hunch, though, would you say it would move into September?
I think September the 3rd is always a better time to do an event than end of August. But again, it depends when Sheffield United are at home and away. Again, going back to, they have that pitch, that Deso pitch, or whatever it's called, where you can stage an event on a Saturday and the next Saturday they can play at home. So we're lucky to have that position, but obviously we can't do the fight when they're playing at home on the Saturday. So we have to wait for that clarification and then we'll announce the date.
What's the situation with Anthony Crolla, with his next defence?
So we're there for his next defence. So there'll be an announcement probably very early next week with that fight obviously Flanagan's fighting Fanner, which is a complete joke. I mean, he's 43 years old. I think he's boxed a couple of times outside of South Africa. You talk about having a unification fight with Crolla, and then you go and fight Fanner. And we look at Crolla's last few fights. Perez, Barroso, and you'll see what kind of business we talk about doing when we announce his next fight. And then you've got Flanagan fighting this Fanner, whose claim to fame was that he fought Morales in 1947. So, again, I think a lot of those boys need to look at where they're at, the profile of their fights, the money they're earning, and start making some noise, because I don't think it's good enough. I don't think that Liam Smith, who beat John Jackson for the vacant title, which was a gift, and then boxed Jimmy Kelly, who is arguably Central Area level. Again, but that's what his record showed. English title level at best, and then Predrag Radzovic, who was awful. But Liam don't want to be in those fights. Liam's good enough to be in those huge fights. But you can't start calling out all these different, and it's not, I'm not saying Liam's doing it, but when you're fighting Predrag Radzovic in front of 1,000 people at the Echo Arena. And as for Monzano Fanner, or whatever his name is, I mean, it's laughable. And Terry Flanagan's very good. But, again, you'll see where we're at when we announce our next opponent. So, I think...
John Thompson, by the way.
What did I say?
John Jackson, John Thompson, yeah. That was a gift. But listen, Liam's good enough to beat a lot of the top light middleweights. So, but he doesn't want to fight Predrag Radzovic. It's embarrassing. He don't want to fight Jimmy Kelly. He never wanted to fight Jimmy Kelly in a million years. But, like he said, it was Christmas come early for him. It was, and, but I just, yeah. So, all attention now will be on June 25th.
Yes. It's nice to have a nice build-up. Last time we did Joshua Martin, we had Brook on March 26th, Callum Smith on April the 2nd, and then Joshua on April the 9th. So we were wrapped up in all these other events. So it's nice to say we've got just under 3 weeks now. And a huge card called Groves Murray, which I'm really excited about. And Eubank Doran, Dillian White, Conor Ben. So there's a few more to add as well. It's going to be a huge night.
A few more to add?
Yeah.
I mean, lower down the card?
No, maybe one title fight.
What, is it a world title fight?
No.
Or British title fight?
Yeah, around that kind of level. I'd quite like to get David Price on in a title fight. I thought he looked good the other night. I think people are generally excited by the heavyweight scene. I mean, the response we've had from having Dillian White on has been great. I think watching David Price at Goodison Park the other night was exciting to watch, and I think people want to see heavyweights. And of course, when you've got a main event world heavyweight title, I think to add some other heavyweights on a card would be good.
Why didn't we get a call to come?
You threw your toys out the pram, didn't you? Oh, Eddie, I've just seen AJ's with The Rock and Kevin Hart. Why weren't we invited?
Wasn't like that at all.
It was actually.
Why didn't we get
Get invited
about The Rock?
Yeah, because it was
Cry about it. That's us.
Well, we talk about levels,
Yeah, why didn't we anyway?
Because it was a thing with Sky. So Kevin Hart and The Rock are doing the promo for Joshua Brazil with AJ, and they were doing some other stuff for their film Central Intelligence, and it was, it was a big thing, I didn't even know you were back in the country. How many holidays have you had in the last 3 weeks? You're non-stop. Ever since you started making a few quid.
I've had one holiday.
You've changed.
I've had one holiday.
You've been away more than that.
Yeah, but I haven't been on holiday. I was on holiday. But anyway. Is The Rock are they going to be at this fight?
No.
Why?
Because they're going back.
Did you invite them?
Yeah, but they're going back, aren't they? So
What's all the secrecy about them? What?
there's no secrets. They filmed the promo with The Rock and Kevin Hart yesterday. They're over for a week or so promoting their film Central Intelligence. There's no... What do you want me to make something up?
No, when I texted you yesterday, you just went, it's undercover.
Not undercover, but as in, like no chances. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, really? Fair enough. So you've got 2 shows left for this sort of season.
Yeah.
One obviously. On the
Yeah,
25th.
we're working on July 30th at the moment. We might do Warrington. We've got some other really interesting British title fights that we're working on as well. We probably won't go in August unless we go August the 27th with Brook, and we may go September the 3rd. Probably go September with Bellew. September with Crolla. And we're talking about Cleverly against Bramer for September the 17th. We were in talks for the Ward fight, but they're just like, it's pulling teeth, just waiting for them to make a decision. So I think Cleverly will fight Bramer.
Where?
Germany. September the 17th.
So how advanced did you get with Ward?
We got offered a deal which we accepted. And then I'm not sure. It's basically his warm-up fight for Kovalev, it appears. And I'm not sure whether they had second thoughts about Cleverly or they couldn't get the money together for either what Ward wanted or what Cleverly wanted, or I don't know. But they went quiet. We waited on answers. Then we got offered the Bramer fight, which we like, and we said, enough's enough, we're going to take the Bramer fight. So we're just closing things out with Calla.
Any movement on Eubank, Golovkin?
Yeah, quite a lot. Quite a lot.
What, as in they're interested?
We're in negotiations.
For September?
September, early October.
Where?
Here.
Yeah, where though?
Don't know yet.
What does that do for you, like as in numbers?
Gives me a hard on. That's what it does for me.
No,
Does it for you?
What, is it an arena fight? Is it a stadium fight?
It's a stadium fight, but it's just whether that's an option logistically. I think he's got a few options. He can fight Billy Joe. He can fight Eubank, which is a much bigger fight financially for him. He can fight Canelo, which he'd love to, but I don't think that's going to happen. He could fight in the US. So, but I think...
of preference though, wouldn't he opt for the Billy Joe fight as he wants all the belts?
Yeah, possibly, but I don't know how the talks are going. Like I said, he can make a lot more money fighting Eubank than he can Billy Joe. But again, Billy Joe, Billy Joe won the belt in November or December last year.
December.
Yeah. We're now in June. And he hasn't boxed since. Granted, he hurt his hand. But, these guys...
Sorry, pick that back up. You said he should have fought in March.
Yeah, I would like to see Billy Joe, be a bit more regular. I know he had his hand injury, but, I think... You've seen, recently with... The word is out that there's big money in the UK. But it seems like the big money is only coming from us. So, like you see from the Martin fight, even from the Makabu fight where he was number one on big money offers from Russia. You'll see with other fights we're announcing in the next week or so. These fighters, Vargas even, they want to come to the UK to collect their big payday. And that's how the game's changed over here. But I'm not sure that other people can generate the kind of money needed to bring those names over apart from us. And we're getting calls all the time from people who used to call us asking how much he'd want to go to America, how much he'd want. Now they're saying, how much would you pay him to come to the UK? So I think we're in such a great spot and position at the moment where big name fighters are prepared to come to the UK and get paid.
Do you think Eubank beats Golovkin?
I think, and I know everyone's perception of that fight is Golovkin wins hands down. I'm not so sure. And maybe it's just because I'm around Eubank all the time and he's telling me how he beats him. And I can't, like, Eubank Senior is, we know, he's eccentric, he's a bit nuts. But he knows his boxing. He's not deluded about boxing. He knows his boxing much better than me. I'm not talking about historically and people's records. I'm talking about fighting. He and for him to be that confident about his son, I'm saying he's a massive underdog in the fight. But when you think about the styles, yeah, he's got unbelievable work rate, Eubank. He's got a great chin. Does he punch hard enough to concern Golovkin? Maybe, maybe not. He ain't really been hit that much, Golovkin. He's got a great work rate. But again, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, he beats Golovkin. I'm telling you, he's got a great work rate, and the belief from the team is mind-blowing. And when you're around it, it makes you feel like he might just be able to do it. So I don't know whether that gets made for September, October, December, but again, as we've said in 1,000 interviews, my instruction from the Eubank is make that fight.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
That's all right. Well,
Can I put a sign on the door?
that's all right. No, this is only you.
Obviously, they don't like me.
Who?
Eubank. I've got no reason to say this, but I wouldn't be massively shocked
If he beat.
if he beat Golovkin.
I know.
I wouldn't.
No, but I think people are starting to. I don't know. How do you beat Golovkin? Work rate? Do you outwork him? Do you outbox him? Do you stop him? I don't know. I think Eubank's got as good a chance, maybe, as I say anyone, but certainly top.
Would Eubank have beaten every one of Golovkin's opponents thus far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, when you look at Golovkin's resume, and it's not his fault, he will fight anyone, but it's not that impressive, is it? I mean, listen, he's fights some world-class fighters, you know, Curtis Stevens was a decent fighter, Murray, of course, you know, Lemieux. Has he boxed the elite world fighters? Not really, not his fault. But I don't know.
You could also argue that obviously
they're so they're so confident that you can't after a while start thinking, why are you so confident? Like, you know you're boxing. You're not idiots from down a pub who are saying, I will beat Golovkin. Let me have it. I'll do him. They're saying this is how we beat him, and I know we can do it.
But do you think that they had the same confidence going into the Billy Joe fight?
Yeah, but come on, you thought that was a fight that could have gone around either way. And Eubank was a baby. He didn't start the fight till the 7th round. He's a different animal now. He'd start from round 1. But I've said, do you want me to try and make the Billy Joe fight to Eubank? Do you want me to look at making a James Gallagher? No. Get us Golovkin. Do you understand me? Get us Golovkin. And they're obsessed with the fight. Obsessed. They don't want any other fights. Yeah, they want to defend the British. Golovkin is the only focus. And actually, they need to be switched on for June 25th. Because Tom Doran, he's not an idiot. He can fight. And if they're not on it, if they're just thinking about that, they're going to either not win as convincingly as they thought they would, or walk onto one and Doran can punch.
Do you think that there's a chance that he may go out to win the British title outright?
I think he'd like to. Depends. If the Golovkin fight comes up, they just want it so bad.
You better deliver it, otherwise you'll be out.
I'll be out of a job. I'll be on a dole.
Have you got anything else to add?
No, not really. I mean, starting from September, I'd quite like. Might kick myself in the foot here, but is that right? Kick myself in the foot.
Yeah, let's just roll with it.
Okay. I'd like virtually all, I say virtually all because it gets me out of jail, Saturday night fight nights to be World Championship boxing. And I think we're at a level now where we should deliver it. And I think this is our first year of our new Sky deal, although we just it started a year ago, but actually the new deal kicks in now, and it gives us a little bit more flexibility to be able to do that and make bigger cards. So I'm really excited, and I've spent all of today just working on September, October, even a bit of November, and planning out what we're doing. When you look at Bellew, Brook, Crolla, well, there's your September. October, we're looking to bring a world title fight to Birmingham. Hopefully they get their first ever world champion. Burns in October as well. There's a big international card we're planning for November. They'll probably have Joshua again in November. Hopefully we can get round to Selby against Warrington in November. You've got Haskins against Hall as well to be added somewhere. So really I feel like Saturday night fight nights from September should really be all World Championship boxing. So I think we're in a great spot.
Well, no more pay-per-view.
There'll definitely be pay-per-view. But actually what you're going to be seeing is we've got more money to spend on fight cards. So, and that's because of pay-per-view. If that makes the fans feel any better. Probably not.
Still a little bit of talk about Parker and Haye as well.
Is it?
Yeah, so...
I don't think so. Haye's like, we haven't even spoke about the David Haye show.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Liverpool. Yeah, he's the Briggs fight is being massively poo-pooed in boxing sense, but listen, there's going to be a lot of people talking about it and probably a lot of people tuning in to watch it. I just like, sometimes I saw a lot, even I know my broadcaster, but skysports.com, Hearn says Haye's further away than ever. All I'm saying by that is that I don't feel like he's made any progress. And people say, oh, he has because he's moved up the world rankings. But I can only tell you that we're not. When he announced he was making his return, I was like, wow, that's a great fight for Joshua down the line. And I haven't. And he's had 2 fights now, and I'm not thinking. I feel any differently to when he announced his comeback. Does that make sense?
Was that because of who he's fought?
Probably. I mean, he's looked alright. I don't think he's looked sensational, but
he's done what he was expected to do.
Yeah, but the last one was a joke. I mean, Mark Demori, listen, he learnt how to box on YouTube, which is never great on a resume, but it was his comeback fight. So, listen, he was a lump. He looked the part. He was the right guy. The bloke last time was a shocker, but I don't even think they expected him to be that bad. Like, we looked at him for Josh about 4 or 5 fights ago, and I think someone told me it might have been Calla. He's terrible. But I think they looked at his record, and they thought that he would be okay, but he wasn't. I think he's come under a little bit of stick the show. I mean, I know it weren't the best, and there was a few funny moments, but there was, I don't know, sold 10,000 tickets and did big numbers on TV. Like, Boxing News have absolutely ruined it. You see the front cover?
No.
Time waster. It's like, basically ruined that fight and then said, if you fight Briggs, you're a disgrace, basically. But again, that's people that are real close, It's very difficult in this business to make decisions. When you're so close, you make decisions that you think are right, but actually you ignore what's happening in the real world.
So what do you think about the Briggs fight? Because you was, at one point, maybe considering...
putting him on an undercard. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, weren't you considering putting him as an opponent for Joshua?
Not really. I mean, that was before the Martin fight, when we looked at him and said, would that fight make sense? But no. I mean, listen, if he went out and had 3 or 4 really good wins, then yeah, I think maybe. But he beat up a geezer that, quite frankly, you'd have beaten. and now he's fighting Haye. And he's going to get tonked everywhere. But a lot of people are going to be talking about it. I mean, he comes to our shows, he's a right pain in the arse, Shannon. He comes in the shows and he's like, just walks around the arena during the Willie Lemon fight. And I said to him, mate, you've got to sit down. Okay, no problem. Then he turned up at Goodison Park. He went in the stands. So listen, they're both very good self-promoters. David is, I've never met someone or seen someone so hungry as David. Like he'll do anything to promote the show. He'll go anywhere. You know, you deal with some fighters and they're like, no, look, my training's here, I can't do that, I have to turn that down. David's like, yes. He's a brilliant self-promoter. So listen, maybe we do Bellew in February and Joshua in the summer. I really want the Fury fight. Yeah. That's the one I want.
Is that obviously of all the available fights realistically to happen, the biggest one? That is the biggest one by far.
I think the Haye fight is bigger, commercially, numbers-wise. But boxing, and let's not forget what game we're in, which is boxing. We're not just in the commercial money game. We're in that too. But talk about this legend up here. You want history, and to unify the division, two British world champions fighting each other, that has to be what we're in the game for. And I'd love to see Joshua fight Tyson Fury. Love it.
Okay. I think we're done.
Feels a bit low key.
Yeah, I know, but
we're a bit flat today.
No.
I'm a bit tired, to be honest with you. And I had a couple of days away last week with the kids, and they just worn me out. It's my birthday this week.
What day?
Wednesday. How old do you reckon I am? Well, you know how old I am then.
You'll be 37?
Correct. Stone. How's your weight getting on?
On a diet from today.
Are you really?
Yeah. What did you get for your birthday?
Absolutely nothing. My mum said to me, I went round my mum's yesterday for a Sunday lunch. Bangers and mash, actually, a little bit disappointing. We religiously have Sunday lunch. Like, if you don't turn up on a Sunday, even if you're away, it's bang out of order. It's just something we've always done. We have bangers and mash, which is quite nice sometimes to mix it up with a bangers and mash. She said to me, do you want anything for your birthday? I went, not really.
What would you like your wife to get you?
She'd get me like maybe a shirt or a pair of shoes. Socks and pants are nice. I like socks and pants. I like gym gear, but we're with Under Armour now. You know, so that comes on the trucks.
Oh, okay.
What else? I don't know really. I'm thinking about doing an Ironman 70.3, which is a half one, which is something like 1.6 mile or 1.4 mile swim.
Why?
I want to say 20 miles on the bike or 30 miles on the bike, and then a half marathon.
Yeah.
But obviously all together.
Why?
Because I'm a fat lump, and when I ran the marathon, I felt great, and I was in great shape, and it just gave me a little bit of physical purpose. And to do an Ironman would be great. Because I'd love to do a full Ironman, but that's like, I would never recover. I could do the swim and I could do the run, it's just the bike. Not really, like I've had a couple of those spinning sessions, but actually on the road, I'm not so sure. But the greatest thing about the Ironman is, is that all the people in it would be like 5'9", 5'10", ripped to shreds. They wouldn't have a hair on them because like everyone's like bicked up for streamline. And there'd be me coming out to swim like a yeti and like getting on my bike. Just it'd be awful. But I wanna get into something. I need a little bit of motivation.
Why don't you climb a mountain?
That doesn't do anything for me. That does nothing for me. You know, like Kilimanjaro and all that doesn't do anything for me. I could do another marathon. I could do the New York Marathon. But I said when I finished that marathon, that's the worst experience of my life, and I'll never ever do it again. And I hated every minute of it, and I did. But Ironman, 70.3. Shouldn't really say that because that's the pansy one. It's the half. But I'm thinking about doing it. I think I could raise some good money for charity as well. Why don't you do it with me?
No.
Why don't you climb a mountain?
I don't know. Don't know if it does anything for me either.
It's all about when you get to our age. How old are you?
2 years younger than you.
Are you really? But you have to find things, don't you, that different things make you tick throughout your life, doesn't it? I think it's always important to set yourself goals and just... Because otherwise, like, you can just get stuck, can't you? Just
I wanted to jump out of the plane.
with a parachute or not?
Yeah, with a parachute.
Do you know you can't do that?
What do you mean?
Do you know you can't do that?
Why?
Because you're too heavy.
No.
No, I can't do it either.
No, but I was at a weight 8 months ago where I could have done it.
Really?
So
I think you've got to be under 15 stone.
50, I don't know. I think it's heavier than that. I'm pretty certain it's heavier than that. Not
Well,
by a
I'm
lot.
never going to be able to jump out of a plane, which is a right touch. I would love to do that.
Let's do it.
I'm too heavy.
Let's get to a weight where we could do it and I'll do it with you.
I don't really want to do that.
Why?
Because my arse would go. Can't just do the Ironman instead. I think let's call on something. Because if we say it on video, we will actually do it.
I'm not doing Ironman.
No, I know you're not doing Ironman, but you have to do something. It's got to be physical.
I think this is too much of a spontaneous
I
thing
thought
to
about
say.
me and you could do like a three ones for charity, but I don't even think that would get me motivated.
No.
That's why I'm going to do the Ironman or the New York Marathon.
Right, well, you do it, I'll film it. I'll tell you what.
I haven't really got time for the training, but I just sometimes feel like you get stuck in a rut, and I just think.
Well, you do.
Don't you just find sometimes it's like life can be so monotonous? You just get up. Like, what about the 2 weeks before the Glasgow event? It's like, get up, 5:30 in the morning, fly to Glasgow, get on the plane, fall asleep, land, go to the press conference, do my spiel, get back on a train, fall asleep, land, go home, have some dinner, go to bed, get up, 5 o'clock in the morning, get picked up with you, drive 4 hours up the M6 to Liverpool, falling asleep, get the coffee at the Peterborough services, go there, do my spiel, go back, go home, get back at 10 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up, fly to Glasgow, I think we have to look after ourselves.
Do you think people feel sorry for you?
How do you think? Oh no, you can't feel. So I'm very lucky to have a job but it is hard work. But what I'm saying is, where do you think our health is at?
I don't know.
Where do you think our cholesterol is at right now?
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to. I actually made an active decision.
But when you
last
lost
night.
all that weight before, right?
Do you know what I got down to?
15.
6.
Yeah. But the problem is you weren't doing a lot of training, but you were on a diet, 1 meal a day.
No, no. You've got this completely wrong because this is when I was going to the gym.
Right.
So
but that was your diet, wasn't it? 1 meal a day.
I was just
Like we'd go to McDonald's and you'd have like a McDonald's. And I'd go, what are you doing? You go, that's my meal for the day. It's true though. It's true. You did do that.
No, but I was going to the gym. That was a combination of dropping a lot of carbs out and actually going to the gym. 15.8 is ridiculous weight. It is. 15.
Mate, I'm around 18 stone.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. But they say that it's like 80% food and 20%.
100% that is true.
No, 80%.
No, I'm saying 100%.
Oh, right.
That's correct, I think.
I don't even feel like I eat that much. Anyway, do you want to go and get a Nando's?
You serious? All right, Eddie. Thanks for talking.
Cheers,
to us.
Kugan. Thanks, mate.
Tods?
No.
Well,
Grensons.
right, Eddie, and thanks for talking to iFall TV, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Sorry about the last 15 minutes.
Sorry.
You could edit it out.
No. Raw.
Okay.